Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Fire ripped through one of Terrace's most historic buildings early this morning. The old Skeena Hotel on Gregg Avenue burned to the ground. The low-income housing hotel no longer operated at full capacity, so thankfully nobody was injured. But the fire still created a dangerous situation for firefighters. The old Skeena Hotel and Terrace, built in the early 1930s, was wiped out completely by flames early this morning. Fire officials arrived on scene just after 4 a.m. and saw smoke bellowing out from many areas. They found the starting point of the fire in the basement, but determined it was not safe to attack directly because of a one-way in, one-way out situation. By just after 6 a.m., fire crews had the blaze contained to the hotel side and were working hard to save the attached liquor store.
At this point, total loss. We ordered a machine to knock down the one side to protect the beer and wine store, and we're focusing on protecting all the buildings around it. It's an old building, very dangerous, not up to current codes, so caution is our number one and safety. But yeah, the guy's doing a fantastic job. Terrace Thornhill firefighters, very well trained, and they got it under control.
The final flames were eventually put out just after 7 a.m. this morning, but because of the enormity of the fire and how quick it went up, fire officials won't be able to determine a cause of the blaze for several days.
At this level of damage, there's no way. It's undetermined. We know approximately where it started in the basement area, moved very quickly, not much we can do, no way of finding out. You'd have to be able to stop it in its early stages, and in this case we weren't being able to. So.
Ed Carrero, a Terrace resident, watched the hotel burn in the early hours. He says he'll miss all the memories he's had over the years at one of Terrace's only downtown pubs.
Got a lot of memories of going in there and having a couple beers in the Christmas Yuletides that they used to have in there. So it's kind of a sad thing to see it go, you know. But and I was here even when the Terrace Hotel burned down, the original one, which was actually an old-looking building like that, looked more like a house than it did a hotel at that time. So I guess this is it. That's the last pub in downtown Terrace, Willie.
Over 20 firefighters from Terrace and Thornhill were on the scene until the fire was out. And while the Skeena has been around for quite some time, it's the age of the building that really made it susceptible to such an extreme fire.
Obviously Skeena has been around a long time, but it's an old building, not to current building standards, and by all accounts not a really safe place to be in. You know, at night even there was people staying here. They were lucky to get out, but again, fire moves very quickly in a building of this age. It's insured, so you know, hopefully we'll see a new building here in the future.
Weber adds he doesn't have the details on how the 3 people in the building escaped safely, but says like any building, smoke detectors, lit up hallways and exit signs help people escape safely. For now, fire officials and security will stay on scene overnight until an adjuster and insurance companies show up tomorrow to determine the next step. For CFTK TV News in Terrace, I'm Andrew Deans. Kitimat's Rod Pelly recently signed a 2-year contract with the NHL's New Jersey Devils. The deal is worth $1.1 million. Pelly says the first year is a 2-way contract, while the final year of the deal is a 1-way with the big club. The 24-year-old from Bear Country played in 52 games last year with the New Jersey Devils. This year he plans on playing a full 82-game schedule, but says he won't put his head down if he starts the season with the AHL's Lowell Devils. Instead, he'll use it as an incentive and a learning experience. Good evening. Here's your Northwest look at sports. Well, it's been a month of fun-filled Hockeyville events for Terrace, and the city was buzzing even louder this weekend. The Top 10 Hockeyville announcement is still 2 weeks away, but CBC was in town this past weekend to catch the River Kings game and see if Terrace really is Hockeyville. CBC Sports on hand to take in Terrace's passion for hockey, and boy did Terrace show it. A sold-out crowd, a live band, and some crazy fans set the stage for a huge showdown between the Prince Rupert Rampage and the Terrace River Kings. Just 3 minutes in, some great work behind the net by Terrace's big bad Brad Owens and Garrett Kerr. Owens feeds a wide-open Kobe Johnson, who rips it into the gaping cage. The fans are loving it. Moments later, Brad Norwood stymies Brett Stav on the behind-the-net feed. Rupert, though, finally solves Norwood midway through the first as Jonathan Hunt fires one past the pads, making it 1-1. Then River Kings captain Steve Cullis feeds his favorite winger, Derek Jurista, who makes no mistake, it's 2-1 Terrace. But the Rampage respond again. Tom Jackson puts a point shot on net. It's tipped by Colt Stava. Norwood thinks there's interference, but the goal stands. Just seconds later, Troy Farkham feeds out front and Garrett Kerr pounces on it. Keith Mulvold left out to hang for the second time. Fans are having a blast as their team heads into the intermission with the 3-2 lead. Terrace keeps it rolling into the second. Cullis finds Trevor Shannon, who lets a snapshot go, and it fools Mulvold on the short side. Prince Rupert gathers himself together and goes on to score 3 unanswered goals in the second. The first one by Brett Stava, who goes glove side on Norwood. Then Chris Woodrow gets an easy one as Terrace is caught scrambling, and it's a 4-4 game. Seconds later, Croft Kirka makes a sweet move and puts his team up 5-4 on the power play. In a time of need, Tristan Murray steps up and goes solo. He powers past the defender and shoots top shelf. 5-5 heading into the third. On the power play, Toby Mitchell is just a second too late as Colt Stava gets his shot off, and it somehow fools Norwood. 6-5 game with 15 to go. Rupert almost puts this thing away when Kirka leans into this slap shot, and Norwood squeezes, but just not tight enough. Under 10 to go now, and Terrace keeps getting physical, and the crowd reacts, getting pumped up by the River Kings' #1 fan, Caleb English. The River Kings get a late power play, and try as they might, they just couldn't get the bounces in the third. The Rampage add an empty netter and take game 1 of the weekend series 8-5, but the home fans sure didn't go home disappointed in this high-scoring affair.
Even today, a couple mistakes, but other than that, I thought we were pretty good defensively, minus a couple lapses. So.
We were just trying to get some wins. It's been a pretty long year. We've been in lots of close games, and unfortunately, we've been on the losing end of most of them. But the guys they're working hard, and things are coming together, and it's just sort of the growing pains, I guess.
Thornhill residents have overwhelmingly approved the purchase of Woodlands Utilities by the Kitimat-Stikine Regional District. Voter turnout was fairly small over the weekend, with about 20% of those eligible casting their ballots. But of those who voted, 195 said yes to the purchase and only 19 said no. The regional district has agreed to buy the private utility for $695,000. Its estimated rates in the Woodlands service area will go up by about $100 a year. The driver of a stolen vehicle led police on a chase up Shames Mountain earlier today. Police say an officer patrolling Highway 16 East turned on his siren to stop a vehicle that was speeding up behind him. But instead of stopping, the driver made a left turn and proceeded to drive up the Shames Mountain. Police say the vehicle was recovered some distance up the mountain and one person was arrested. No charges have been laid yet as the investigation continues. The green Mazda Protege was reported stolen around 8 o'clock this morning from a home in Terrace. Team Rona has kicked off the Northwest cycling season with a win in the Shames Mountain Hill Climb. Mike Christensen won the grueling 13-kilometer climb up the Shames Mountain Road in a time of 44:04, beating out Peter Krause of Team McBike Smithers and Tavis McDonald of Outspoken Terrace, while Mike's Rona's teammate Rudy Peters came in 4th. In the women's category, Tammy Wilson took top honors in her first attempt at the climb, with Helen Perslow in 2nd. The next event for the competitive cyclists is the Tour de Nas, Saturday, May 9th.